Welcome, students.
Walaikum salam, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, sir. Good.
So, how many students we have now?
Sir, there are 12 participants.
So we can still wait for other students. And then we have a very special guest today with us. And I think I will wait for a few minutes for other students to also join. And then I can introduce our guest speaker for today. So, Najaf, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, Najaf, please let me know when we have like more than 20 students, and then we can
Okay,
continue.
Okay, sir.
So I think there are 20 students. I think we should continue. Okay, so let me introduce Dr. Hakimur Rahman. So he's assistant professor at University of the Punjab, and he's having more than 10 years of teaching experience. He's a dynamic trainer. He's a consultant, and he's a certified Six Sigma black belt and IRCA from UK, and lead author of QMS. So he is a wonderful researcher, and he did his graduation from Shanghai Jiaotong University, the same university I graduated. And that university is one of the top 50 university in the world. He did his PhD in management science and engineering, and it's a great pleasure for us to have Dr. Hakimur Rahman with us today. So over to you, Dr. Saab.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali Ahmed. It's a great pleasure to present data analysis using R. So I hope that everybody should familiar with the R programming language. As Dr. Ali told me that you have already read this subject. So what I am going to do is that I will mainly talk about the testing of hypothesis. From the testing of hypothesis, I will mainly talk about the parametric testing of hypothesis. I will let you know what's the meaning of the parametric, because there are some parametric testing of hypothesis, there are some non-parametric testing of hypothesis. Then I will talk about a bit about correlation, simple linear regression, and the multiple linear regression. So let me start discussing about what is the parametric testing of hypothesis is. So whenever there is a word parametric is, that means we are assuming our data is follow the normal distribution. Because when we are applying any statistical technique, so there are some pre-assumptions which we have to follow, because if those assumptions are not fulfilled, we cannot apply those methods or those tools. It is just like the engineering tool. So if you are not using the appropriate tool for the appropriate scenario for the appropriate data, so that means you would not be able to properly interpret those results, or you can say you cannot focus on those results or rely on those results. So the main thing is for the parametric testing of hypothesis, so your data must follow the normal distribution. So that is the pre-assumption for that. And we have multiple types of parametric testing of hypothesis. So that is depending upon the situation, we are picking a particular testing of hypothesis. Like if I want to compare a one group with a target. So what that mean is that, let's say if I am saying that I want to compare the average score of a particular class. So Dr. Ali Ahmed is claiming that my class average score is 90 out of 100. So I want to check his claim, whether his claim is right or wrong. So I will pick up the random samples from his class, and then I will compare the average score from the sample and compare it to the target value, which is the Dr. Ali gave us, which is 90. Okay, so in this particular scenario, to test his claim, so we can apply one sample t-test. But in order to test his claim, first of all, before applying the one sample t-test, we have to check whether the data follow the normal distribution or not. So there are multiple type of way to test whether the data is normal or not. Okay, so we will talk about when I will show you in the R. And once we have confirmed that the data follow the normal distribution, then we can apply the one sample t-test. Okay, the second scenario is if we have a one group, but we are measuring them twice. Okay, so what does that mean is, like before teaching any particular class the research method, so what's the level of their about the research? Okay, and then after teaching the research method course, what's the level of education they have now? So that is before and after. Similarly, we can take the example from the pharmaceutical perspective. That is before that we have produced a particular headache medicine. Okay, and we are quantifying the headache severeness of any particular patient before that particular medicine and after giving the medicine, so whether the headache is less or not. Okay, so in that particular case, we are applying the pair t-test. So remember that pair t-test means the same group of people which are used early in the experiment will be used in after the experiment. So that should be, that's why we are saying that one sample that is measured twice. Okay, now if we are going to compare the two independent groups, like if I want to compare the performance of University A versus University B, if I want to compare the performance of machine A versus machine B. So in that particular case, because both the groups are independent, so in that particular scenario, we have two assumptions. Number one is the data must follow the normal distribution. And the second is that is we have to test whether the variances of the two groups are equal or not. Okay. So once the data follow the normal distribution, and we have to check whether the variances are equal or not. If it is equal, then we can apply two sample independent t-test. But if the variances are not equal, in that case, we can apply two sample independent t-test, but that would be called as a Welch approximation, two sample independent t-test. If the variances are not equal, but the data follow the normal distribution. Okay, another scenario is if we want to compare more than two groups. Okay, in that particular case, so more than two groups mean I want to compare the performance of three suppliers. Okay, So in that particular case, again, we have the two assumptions. One is the data must follow the normal distribution. And the second thing is the data must have the, we have to test whether the variances are equal or not. If the variances are equal, we can apply one-way ANOVA. But if the variances are not equal, then we have to apply one-way ANOVA with Welch approximation, which is called as Welch test, right? So in this particular lecture, I'm going to cover one sample t-test, pair t-test, two sample independent t-test, independent t-test with Welch approximation, as well as one-way ANOVA. So we will talk about this one. Okay, one more thing is that whenever you are going to apply the testing of hypothesis, okay, so we are dealing with the variables, okay, y and x's, right? Okay, this is up to so on. So remember, one, I am talking about the x's. X's mean factors, okay, and y is our response variable, okay, or you can say the dependent variable. So in any kind of testing of hypothesis, your response variable must be the continuous variable, okay, or it should be in a measurable form. Whereas your factors can be a nominal scale, okay. So usually it is a nominal scale when you can just differentiate with them, such as I have given you the example. I want to compare the performance of supplier A, supplier B, and supplier C against the, let's say, quality rating, okay, that is quality rating. So quality rating is a quantitative data, okay, whereas your supplier A, supplier B, and supplier C are the you can say factors, right? Or it's a nominal scale data. Okay, so let's start with the first test, which is a one sample t-test. Okay, as I told you earlier, so in what scenario we can apply the one sample t-test? If we want to compare a single sample against the target value, okay? So like, for example, I have taken the sample out of a class that is equal to 15 students, and I want to test those 15 students average score against the target value, which is given as I given in the earlier example, that is, let's say that is 90. A teacher is claiming that my class is obtaining on average 90 marks. So we want to test that one. So in that particular scenario, so we can apply one sample t-test, right? Okay, usually theoretically speaking, there are three scenarios. That is, if we want to test the mean and the data follow the normal distribution and the standard deviation is given. But practically speaking, in a real world, that is not the case. So we never get this particular scenario in the real world. Okay, the second is testing of hypothesis. If I want to test the mean when the distribution is normal and population variances are unknown when the sample size is greater than 30. In that particular case, people are saying that we can apply the Z test. Okay, but when the sample size is less than, then we can apply T test. But usually, again, practically speaking, because the T test is derived from the Z test, okay, or you can say the Z distribution. So there is no matter whether you want to for the larger sample size or for the smaller sample size. In both cases, you can apply the T test. You will get the similar kind of results. Okay, so for that, the example I am taking is that is a shelf life or the carbonated beverages. Okay, so that is the shelf life is given in 10 days perspective, and we have taken the sample of 10 bottles, and I want to test the claim that whether the life is exceeds 120 days or not. That is the claim of that particular organization. Okay, so which means my H naught will be mu is less than or equal to 120 days, whereas my alternative is exceed means that is greater than 120 days, right? So that is we want to test. So how we can do that in the R? So so this is just the brief overview about the introduction to R, and I hope everybody knows about the R. You can say look. So So how we can apply the one sample t-test in R? So for that, first of all, we need to define a vector. So that means we need to define this data set. Okay. So there is a multiple way we can define the data set in R, or either we can export it from the Excel, okay, or the text file. But right now I am giving the first way. So I am defining this data set in R. So how we can define this? That is, C is basically the concatenate function. Okay. So with the help of this function, we can define a vector, so which contain the multiple values. So you can say that day is a variable which we are defining. Okay. And in a day, we are saying that the values of days are 108, 124, and so on. Okay. And all these values will be stored in the variable called day. Okay. So this operator is the equal operator. Okay. Either you can, sorry, it's an assignment operator. Okay. So either you can use less than minus sign, or either you can use simple equal. So both are fine. Okay. So first of all, in order to run this command, as you people might know, as you have already studied this R programming language. So how we can run this? We can simply place the cursor over here, and then I can press run, and I can see that this command is run, and all the values are saved in the variable that is day. So if I write day over here and press enter, I can see the values, right? So now if I want to apply some descriptive analysis on this particular data. So descriptive analysis mean I want to find out the minimum value, maximum value, mean, standard deviation. So for that, we have a command summary. Okay, so we can write down the summary. I hope you already have this code. So that's why I'm just explaining this particular code. So there is no need to write down the code by yourself right now. So you can practice after that. Okay.
Just let me interrupt that, sir.
Okay.
So students, do you have the R software installed on your computers?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, okay. So did you find the command? And if you have any question regarding all this analysis, please feel free to ask Dr. Hakimur Rahman. And
Sure.
if you have any ambiguity, so just try to be engaged and how to say, interactive with Dr. Hakimur Rahman.
Sure, sir.
Okay. G, that's all. Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, we are going to apply the descriptive analysis. So how we can do that? So I'm using the command summary. Okay, and then I am placing the name of the variable, which is day. So if I run this particular command, so I can see the minimum value, the first quartile value, median, minimum value, third quartile, as well as the maximum value. So right now I am not finding the value of standard deviation. So for that, you can separately calculate. Like the command for that is, if I want to separately find out the mean, I can use simple mean command. Or if I want to find out the standard deviation, I can simply use the command of SD, which is a standard deviation. So first of all, as you know that, what's the meaning of first quartile? So let me ask the question. Can anyone tell me what's the meaning of this 117.2 is? As we already know that the mean is basically the standard value. Okay. So we have the mean value, we have the median value, but what's the meaning of first quartile, which is 117.2? Yes, Zar?
Sir, it means the median of the lower half of the data set.
No, I am talking about what's the meaning of first quartile. So 117.2 means, so this means at least 25 bottles have the life 117.2 days or less. Or either we can interpret it at least 75% bottles have life 117.2 or more. Okay, so that's the practical meaning of this first quartile is. Okay, now the mean and the median value, you know what's the meaning is, that is the standard value is indicating. Okay, now I want to first of all apply some descriptive graphical analysis. So for that, first of all, I need to set the frame. Okay, if I just want to plot one plot, so then there is no need to setting the you can say graphical portions. But if I want to display the multiple graph, then for that I have to portion out the page. So for that we have the command which is called par mf row. Okay, that command is indicating basically this is we are partitioning the page into 2 rows, 2 columns. So if I run this command, so it will partition the graphical plot in 2 rows and 2 columns. So once I have run this command, now if I am going to plot the day command, okay, so plot day. So what this will say? So as you can see that it will display on the upper left side of the page, which is on x-axis we can see the indexes, that is we have the 10 total number of values. On y-axis we have the day variable. Okay, so each dot is representing first sample value, second sample value, and so on. So now next I want to find out the distribution of this data set. That means I want to check whether the data is follow the normal distribution or not. So for that, descriptively, we can draw the histogram, okay, or we can draw the QQ plot. So first of all, if I draw the histogram, so with the help of this histogram, as you can see that on x-axis we have day, on y-axis we have the frequency, and this is indicating the shape of the histogram. Okay, so whether the histogram shape is indicating that the data follow the normal distribution or not. So what do you people say? Is the data follow the normal distribution or not, as per the shape of the histogram?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So right now we are saying that with the help of histogram, so that the data couldn't follow the normal distribution. Okay. So next, let's say I want to plot another descriptive plot, which is a QQ plot, which is called as QQ normal plot. QQ means quartile normal plot. So if I plot this one, and for that I have to plot the line plot as well as a reference. So now this is with the help of these 2 commands, that is basically indicating QQ norm and then the name of the variable, and then this is I am giving the heading of the graph. Okay, with the help of this plot, if all the dot points are lying on this center line, then we can say that the data follow the normal distribution. If the data points are scattering from this particular line, then we cannot say the data follow the normal distribution. So as you can see that these 2 dot points are indicating it might be possible that the data do not follow the normal distribution, but rest of the data is quite closer to this one. Okay, let me plot another graph which is called as box plot. Okay, so if I run this command, okay, so what the box plot is telling us, as you people might know that the lower side of the box plot is the value of Q1, this is Q2, this is Q3. Okay, so this is basically equal to the median value. If the median value is exactly lying the center of the Q1 and Q2, so we may say that the data follow the normal distribution. But overall, if we say that from the descriptive analysis, we might conclude that the data didn't follow the normal distribution. Okay, but remember that never conclude based on the descriptive results. Okay, so you have to conclude based on the test. Okay, so for that, is there any test to check whether the data follow the normal distribution or not? So we have the multiple kind of test, and the first test we can apply in order to check the normality of the data, which is called as Anderson-Darling test. So there is other test which is called as Shapiro-Wilk test. So in order to apply the Anderson-Darling test in R, so for that we need a library. which is called as NOR test, which is normal test. So that means, first of all, we need to install this library. So how we can install it? So we can go to the packages, okay, and then we can click on install, and over here we can write down norm test. Okay, so there is a library. Okay, and then we can press install button. So but make sure your internet is connected, because it will take you the internet and then start installing it, unless you have already the package in your computer. Okay, so I have already installed this package. Now once you have installed the package, the next step is we have to call this package. Okay, because we want to use this particular package. So that's why I'm using the command library, so in order to call that package. So if I run this command, so with the help of this command, I have called the package norm test. Now I want to apply the Anderson-Darling test. For that, we have a command ad.test and then the name of the variable, which is the day. So if I run this particular command, okay, so and I can see the result of Anderson-Darling normal test, and I'm getting the p-value 0.6061. So what does that mean? Whenever we are applying the normality test, whether it's a Anderson-Darling test, whether it's a Shapiro-Wilk test, so our H naught in that particular case is data follow the normal distribution. Okay, whereas our alternative hypothesis is data do not follow the normal distribution. So this is our H naught and H1. And how we can accept this one and reject this one, that is based on the p-value, okay, and pre-decided alpha value. So this alpha value is called as a type 1 error, or you can say how much error is present in your decision. Okay, so usually we are taking the alpha is pre-decided alpha is 5%, 1%. So it's up to you how much percentage you are taking. Okay, so that is, if I am taking the alpha is 5%, so which means I am 95% confident about my result. So if I am taking the alpha is equal to 1%, that means I am 99% confident about my decision. Okay, so let's say if the alpha is 5%, okay, and whatever the p-value we are getting from the test. So because we have applied the Anderson-Darling test, so based on that test, we get the value of p-value. Okay, if the p-value is greater than or equal to alpha, we will say accept H naught. Okay, so this is for every kind of testing of hypothesis. This is, you can say, rule of thumb. If the p-value is greater than or equal to alpha, we will say accept H naught. If the p-value is less than alpha, we will say reject H naught, or usually we can say do not accept H naught. So in our case, okay, in this particular case, if we can see that the p-value is 0.60, so this means, so this p-value is basically 0.6061, which is greater than or equal to 0.05, or whether you want to take 0.10. So we will say accept H naught. That means according to the Anderson-Darling test, this data follow the normal distribution, which we have earlier find that from the descriptive analysis, it seems that the data do not follow. So that means if there is a conflict, so we have to follow the test result, because the Anderson-Darling test says that the data follow the normal distribution. So we have to conclude that the data follow the normal distribution. Okay, so let me apply another test, which is called as Shapiro test, which is also used to test the normality of the data. So for that, you can say that Shapiro.test and the name of the variable. Okay, so if I run this command again, the Shapiro result also says that the p-value is 0.51, which is greater than 0.05. That means data follow the normal distribution. So which means we have fulfilled the assumption of the one sample t-test, that the data against which we want to apply the one sample t-test follow the normal distribution, which means we can apply the one sample t-test. Is it clear? So till now, if you have any question. Okay, till now, if you have any question. Okay, okay. So now, now we want to apply the one sample t-test. So for that, as we have written down earlier, that we want to test whether the life of the beverage is more than 120 or not. So what is the H naught? That is mu is greater than less than or equal to 120, whereas alternative mu is greater than 120. Okay, so this is our H naught and H1. So let me apply one sample t-test because the data follow the normal distribution. So in order to apply the one sample t-test, we can write down the command t.test. Okay. Then the name of the variable, which is day in which we have stored the data, comma, and then the mu value, which is 120. And we have to write down the alternative, which is H1. Okay. H1 is greater than, but if it is less than, so we can write down simply less. Okay. But if it is two-tailed test, that means if the alternative is not equal to, then you have to write down over as two-sided. Okay. So once I have run this command, I can see the result of one sample t-test. Over here, it is saying that the value of t is this one, the degree of freedom. So this is the p-value. This is the average value. So that is, this value is calculated from the data, whereas the actual mu value was 120. That was the target value. Okay, so from this p-value, which is 0.054, so we can say that this p-value is greater than the alpha value. Let's say the alpha value we have decided is 5%. So we will say except H naught. That means on average, the life of the beverage is not 120. It is maybe 120 or less, not more than 120. Okay, but as you can see that the p-value is 0.54. We are almost lying on the boundary. Okay, so we can also say that we need to collect more data in order to get the proper conclusion. I hope you got the idea about the one sample t-test. Any question till one sample t-test?
Sir, can you please read why we need more data?
Yeah, I'm saying that because the p-value is 0.54, which means we are lying almost on a boundary. Why I'm saying like, because our p-value is 0.054, whereas our pre-decided alpha value is 0.05. So it's almost equal. Okay, so in this particular case, although we can conclude that we can accept H naught, mean the life of the beverages is equal to 120 or less. But because we are lying exactly on a boundary to conclude this one, so that's why I am saying that it might be good to have more data set in order to get the proper conclusion. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so moving on, the next type of test we have, that is called as the two sample independent t-test. So in what case we can apply the two sample independent t-test? Whenever you want to compare two independent groups, means the performance of class A versus class B, or the performance of organization A versus organization B. Okay, so for that, if the two groups are independent, we can apply the two sample independent t-test. So for that, we have two assumptions. Number one, that first of all, both the groups must follow the normal distribution. Okay, so that means again, we have to apply either Shapiro-Wilk test in order to check whether the data follow the normal distribution or not, or either we can apply the AD test. The second thing we have to check is that the variance must be equal, mean homogeneity. We have to check that one. So for that, again, we have the different kind of test in order to test that one. So which mean in order to apply the two sample independent t-test, first of all, we have to follow these two assumptions. Okay, once these two assumptions are fulfilled, then we can apply the two sample independent t-test. Again, like as I have already told you about against the one sample test perspective, once if we have given the population standard deviation, which is practically impossible, in that particular case, we can apply the Z test or Z distribution. As well as if the sample size are large enough, or usually say theoretically speaking, it's more than 30, we can apply the Z distribution. But as I told you that the T distribution is almost look like a Z distribution depending upon the sample size, but you can apply for larger sample size or the smaller sample size the T test, or you can say the T distribution. Okay. So the first of all is, if we want to compare the two groups and the data follow the normal distribution and variances are equal, then we can apply the two sample independent t-test. But if data follow the normal distribution but variances are not equal, then in that particular case, we have to apply the two sample independent t-test with Welch approximation. Okay. So in order to test the normality, we have already discussed AD test and Shapiro-Wilk test. But in order to test the equality of the variance, so either we can apply the F test, either we can apply the Leibniz test. Okay. So both the tests can be applied in order to test the equality of variance. There is a third test as well, which is called as Bartlett test. But Bartlett test we are applying when we have more than two groups. So for two groups, we can apply only either F test or Leibniz test. Okay, so even for the F test, we can apply if the data follow the normal distribution. But if data do not follow the normal distribution, then in order to test the equality of the variance, we can apply the Leibniz test. So Leibniz test do not rely on the distribution of the data. So whether the data follow the normal distribution or not, in both the cases, we can apply the Leibniz test. But if the data follow the normal distribution, then in order to test the equality of the variance, we can apply F test. Okay, so in order to apply these all tests, so the example I am taking, that is basically the hospital comparison. Okay, so I have taken the two hospitals data, which is hospital A and hospital B, and we have rated them with respect to their patients. Their services, okay, with respect to the patient satisfaction perspective, from 1 to 100, where 100 is the best score. Okay, so first of all, for that, what I am doing is I have the data set of the hospital comparison in the Excel, or you can say the CSV file. So this data set is given to you. So this is basically the hospital comparison. As you can see that the type of this Excel file is MS Excel, comma separated value, okay, which is a CSV file. So in order to read this data set, because we have the data in this particular file, so we have to read this data file. So in order to do that, we can apply this particular command, which is called as read.csv. So with the help of this function, we would be able to read the CSV file. And then with the help of this command, which is file.choose, it will pop up a menu and allow me to choose any particular file which I want to import. Okay, next I am writing down header is equal to true, which means the first row of this data set is the name of the variables. So that's why we are saying header is equal to true. So once we have read that file, I am storing that file in a variable called as hospital comparison. So that data set will automatically store in this particular variable. So let me run this command. Okay, so as you can see that the menu is pop up. Okay, sorry, the window is pop up. Now we can select the file hospital comparison. Okay, So now that particular data set is stored in a variable. Okay, so if I want to see that data set, so we can apply the command view. Okay, so make sure that the V of the view is capital. If I run this command, now I can see the data set of the hospital, which is the rating, and the second column is basically the hospital A as well as hospital B. Okay, now before applying the test of the two sample independent t-test, and even before checking the assumption, I am applying some descriptive analysis, which I also recommended you. Whenever you are comparing two groups or more than two groups, always try to draw the box plot first in order to get the basic idea. Okay, like right now, so there is a multiple way to draw the box plot when you are comparing two groups or more than two groups. So right now I want to compare the hospital A patient satisfaction level as well as hospital B. So for that, first of all, I need to separate the hospital A data and separate the hospital B data. So how we can do that? So for that, I am saying the hospital comparison, which is the name of the variable in which we have stored the data. And then I am writing down the bracket, which is, I am saying that I want to access the column name, which is a hospital. So if I again check the view, so then column name is hospital. So from there, I am separating the hospital A data as well as hospital B. So with the help of this particular command, which is writing down hospital comparison and then $sign, as you know that to access the particular column name. Okay, so this is the column is the hospital. And then I am saying equal to A. So wherever you have seen the alphabet A in the hospital column, so pick that row. Okay, and store in a hospital.a variable. So once I have run this command, and then similarly we have separated with B. Okay, again once, so we have written down comma and nothing else. So that means select all the rows wherever you find out A. Okay, okay, so all the rows, right, as well as column against that particular you can say the value of A is, as well as B. Again, now again I am setting the page. 1 means 1 row 1 column. That means we want to display the graph on the entire page. So that's why I'm writing down this command. Now I want to apply the box plot. So box plot, the name of the first variable, which is hospital.a, and on y-axis we, for the box plot, we have the continuous data, which is basically the rating. Okay, on x-axis we have hospital A as well as hospital B, but on y-axis we have the rating. So that's why I am accessing the first column, which is rating. So that's why I'm writing down hospital.a, that is name of this variable, then $rating. Okay, similarly for hospital B, $rating. Okay, and then I'm giving the title of the graph, I am giving the label of the y-axis, and then as well as giving the hospital A or hospital B. If I will not write down this name is equal to hospital A, hospital B, it will write down 1, 2. So in order to write down which box plot is representing hospital A and which is B, so we have to write down hospital A and hospital B. So remember that. So if you have writing down hospital A first, hospital B first, then you have to pick A, B. If you are writing down B first and then A, then you have to write down over here is B and then A. Okay, again, if I run this command, so we can see the graph. Okay, so this is hospital A, this is hospital B, and y-axis we have the rating. So from this graph, what we can conclude? Can anybody tell me? From this particular graph, which hospital has the better rating?
So hospital A.
Exactly. So hospital A on average is the better rating compared to B. So we can also see a one outlier. So that means one patient rated hospital B extremely good. So that means it might be this patient is a biased. Okay. But overall, hospital A's performance compared to B is quite good. Okay. So, but again, we have to test because this is a descriptive analysis. So in order to test the two sample independent t-test, we need to check the assumptions. So first of all, I'm using the graphical analysis to test the normality. So the same graph which we have applied on a one sample t-test. So first of all, again, I am portioning on the page 2 rows, 2 columns with the help of first command, that is with the help of this particular command. And then I am plotting the hospital rating, which is representing total number of values are 40. And this is the overall rating of both the hospitals. So this is histogram. Is the data follow the normal distribution based on histogram? Might be. But look like a negative skewed, but might be. I cannot say from this, right? So let me apply the QQ plot. Okay. So with the help of QQ plot, it is also saying that might be the data follow the normal distribution except these points or maybe this point. Okay. Similarly, we have the overall box plot, but the better way is, as I told you earlier, so in order to test the normality of the data, we have to apply the test, whether the AD test or the Shapiro-Wilk test. So right now I'm applying the Shapiro test on the hospital rating. So if I run this command, so as you can see that again, the Shapiro test, normality test is indicating the p-value is 0.5637. So this p-value is again greater than alpha. Okay, which is alpha is usually we are considering 0.05. So because the p-value is greater than alpha, so we can conclude that the data of the patient rating is follow the normal distribution. So the first assumption is fulfilled. So the test says the data follow the normal distribution. Okay, now we have to test the second assumption, whether the both the groups has equal variance or not, mean the homogeneity of the variance. So in order to do that, so we can apply the function var.test, that is variance.test, then hospital comparison rating. So we have to write down the first is the continuous variable, or you can say the dependent variable. So that is rating. And then this is tilde sign. Then we have to write down the factor variable, okay, which is hospital comparison $hospital. Okay, as you can see that hospital is a factor variable, whereas rating is a continuous variable. So if I run this particular command, so with the help of this, we can see the F test for the two variants because the data follow the normal distribution. So that's why we can apply the F test. And over here, the p-value is 0.007. So what will be our H naught in this particular case will be, so the H naught is the variance of hospital A is equal to the variance of hospital B, or alternative would be the hospital of variance A is not equal to hospital B. So in other sense, we can also write down this one is the variance of hospital A and hospital B. So the ratio is equal to 1, or alternative will be the ratio of these two hospitals variance is not equal to 1. So both the meanings are same. Okay, so the H naught saying that the variances are equal, whereas the alternative say variances are not equal. So again, we have to check whether the p-value is greater than or equal to alpha or not. So the alpha is 0.05. So we find that the p-value is 0.07, I believe. So this is 0.07, yes. So because the p-value is greater than this alpha value, so we will say except H naught. So except H naught means, so both the variances are equal. So that means the homogeneity condition is fulfilled. So variance of the two hospitals are equal. Okay, so that means both the assumptions are fulfilled. The normality of the data as well as the equality of the variance. So now we can apply the two sample independent t-test with equal variance. So how we can do that? We can write down t dot test. Again, we will write down the continuous variable first, which is hospital comparison dollar rating. Okay, so rating, in the rating variable, we have the continuous variable values. Then tilde sign, then we have the factor variable, which is hospital. And then because variances are equal, so we have to write down var, that means variance equal to t. T means true. Okay, so the variances are equal. So if I run this command, so I'm getting the result of two sample independent t-test. Okay, whereas group A mean value is 80.3, group B value is 59.3. From the mean value, we can say that the group A is doing good. Whether this descriptive result is okay or not, so for that we have to check the p-value. So because this p-value is quite small, because how you can read that 2.138 e power minus, which mean almost zero. So p-value is almost zero. So that mean in this particular case, when we are comparing the two groups, our H naught will be the mean of hospital A rating is equal to mean of hospital B rating, whereas the alternative A would be the mean of hospital A rating is not equal to B. Okay, as we have seen that the p-value is almost 0.000. Okay, so the p-value is less than alpha. What is alpha? Whether you are taking 1% or whether you are taking 5%. So let's say I am taking alpha is 5%. Because the p-value is less than alpha, so we will say reject H naught, or you can say we cannot accept the H naught. So that means H1 is right, or we are accepting the H1. So that means both the hospitals have not same rating. Okay, and with the help of box plot, which we have drawn earlier, okay, this one, with the help of box plot as well as with the help of mean value, we can easily say that hospital A's rating is better than the hospital B. Clear? Okay, any question till here? Any question till two sample independent t-test?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this recording will be available to you, so you can also watch this recording later. Okay, so the next one is, let's say if you want to apply the two sample independent t-test with Welch approximation. This is just, I am showing that although for this particular data set, we have seen that the data follow the normal distribution, variances were equal, so we can apply the two sample independent t-test. But let's say if the data follow the normal distribution, but variances are not equal, then how you can apply the Welch approximation? The entire command will be the same, but then there is no need to write down this particular thing, which is var dot equal is equal to t. Okay. Okay, moving on. Now I am going towards the pair t-test. Okay. So in what situation we can apply the pair t-test? Whenever there is a situation of before and after. Okay. Like, so the same group is measured 2 times. Okay, as I have given the example earlier, that before teaching you the research method, we are testing your knowledge about the research method, and then after teaching the research method, we are testing whether that teaching is beneficial to the students or not. Okay, so the same group is tested before and then after. So in order to test that one, we have the pair t-test. So how we can write down the pair t-test? There is a two-way, that is H naught mu1 minus mu2 is equal to mu d. That is the difference between these two. Or alternative is mu1 minus mu2 is equal to mu d, where this d is basically the difference of the two variables. That is the difference between before and after. Okay, that is a d. And whereas mu d is basically the average of this difference variable. So how we can apply this pair t-test? So there is a two-way. Either we can exactly apply the two pair t-test, or either we can apply even for the two pair t-test one sample t-test. But one sample t-test can be applied only the difference variable. Okay, so for that we have to calculate this difference first. Okay, so how we can do that? So for that I'm giving the example, that is rest heart rating. So a psychologist basically wants to know the heart rating rest before the running program and after the running program, in order to test whether that running program is effective for the athlete or not. Okay, so they are testing with the help of heart rating, resting the heart rating. Okay, so for this particular test, there is only one assumption, that the difference variable data must follow the normal distribution. Okay. So how you can do that? First of all, again, in order to apply the pair t-test in R, I'm reading the data set, okay, with the help of same command, that is read.csv. And then I'm storing that data file in a variable called resting heart rate. So if I run this particular command, so again, the window is pop up. I can click the CSV file, which is resting heart rate. I am opening it. Now I want to see this data set. I can use the command view. Again, run. So now we can see the view command, that is before the running program, what was the heart rating? After the running program, what was the heart rating? And then we have taken the difference before minus after. So this is the difference. So that means we can apply the pair t-test on this difference variable with the help of one sample t-test. So what was the H naught in this particular case will be that the difference between, okay, so the difference between these two groups is equal to 0, whereas the alternative would be the difference before and after will be not equal to 0. Okay, so because we are taking the difference before minus after, okay, so that means if the answer is greater than 0, okay, or we can say that if they are if they are not equal and the difference is greater than 0, so we can conclude that after the running program, the heart rate is resting quickly compared to the before. So that means the running program will be beneficial to the athletes. Okay. So in order to test this one, how we can do that? So I'm applying the one sample t-test on which variable? On the difference variable. That is this particular variable. So if I run this command, again, I am assuming that the data follow the normal distribution. So as you know that how to test the normality of the data. So if I run this command, so with the help of this p-value, so which is 0.006. So if our alpha is 5%, so what we will say, reject H naught. So that means the heart rate is not equal before and after. So that means because this mean value is greater than 0 and we have taken the difference from before minus after, and the mean value is greater than 0, which is indicating that this running program is effective. As we can say that after this running program, heart rate is quickly recovering in the normal mode. Is it clear? Is it clear, pair t-test?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now we are moving towards the one-way ANOVA. So in what situation we can apply the one-way ANOVA test? When we want to compare 3 or more than 3 groups. Even you can also apply the one-way ANOVA with 2 groups as well. But for that, we have the specific test, which is a 2 separate independent t-test. So that's why we are saying that when you have 3 or more than 3 groups, independent groups, and you want to compare them based on the average value, in that particular case, we can apply the one-way ANOVA. Okay, again, your response variable must be continuous. Okay, your factors x1, x2, x3 must be the nominal scale. Okay, so these must be on a nominal scale, as I have written down over here, nominal scale, or your response variable is continuous, whether it's on an interval scale or a ratio scale. Okay, so how you can write down H0 and H1? So the H0, let's say if I want to compare 4 groups, so I can write down mu1 is equal to mu2, mean all the means are equal. Okay, till whatever the mean is, number of means are. So whereas alternative means not all mu j's are equal. So the actual mean, at least one of the mean, if it is different from the other, it will say reject H0. Okay. Again, because we are comparing 3 or more than 3 groups, so we have 2 assumptions. The data must follow the normal distribution, and the second assumption is that the data must follow the homogeneity condition. So for that, I have taken the data set of the supplier quality. Okay, so this data set is again available to you. So if I run this command, so this is the supplier quality data. Okay, so if I want to see this data set, I am running the view command. So we can say that we have 3 suppliers: supplier A, supplier B, and supplier C. And then we have the quality ratings. Okay. Now I want to first of all check the normality of the quality rating. So for that, I'm applying the Shapiro test. Okay. So this Shapiro test is saying that because the p-value is greater than 0.05, so we will say accept H0. So what was the H0 in a Shapiro test? The data follow the normal distribution. Okay. Now we need to check the second assumption, which is the homogeneity assumption. Okay, as I told you earlier that if we have more than 2 groups, 3 or more than 3 groups, and you want to test the homogeneity condition, if the data follow the normal distribution, then in that case, we can apply the Bartlett test. Okay, so that's why I'm applying Bartlett.test. The first variable is the quantitative variable or the continuous variable, which is a quality rating. So how we can access this particular variable? Then again, the name of the variable in which we have stored the data, which is a supplier quality, $sign, the name of the variable, which is a continuous variable, again tilde sign, and then the name of the factor, or you can say the independent variable, which is the different types of supplier, which is supplier A, B, and C. So if I run this command, okay, right now this Bartlett test is indicating the p-value is 0.23. So what does that mean? So this Bartlett test is indicating that the H0 is the variance of supplier A is equal to variance of supplier B is equal to variance of supplier C. Whereas alternative will be at least one variance of supplier is different. Okay, because the p-value is right now in our result, the Bartlett test saying that the p-value is greater than or equal to 0.05. So we will say accept H0. That means the variation in all the suppliers are equal, okay, in their data set, because the p-value was 0.23. So we can conclude that the homogeneity condition is fulfilled. So once the normality assumption is fulfilled, the homogeneity assumption is fulfilled, now we can apply the one-way ANOVA. But again, before applying the one-way ANOVA, I am drawing the box plot. So in order to draw the box plot, we can apply the box plot. The quantitative variable, again, the tilde sign, the factor, and then I'm giving the coloring of every particular box. Okay. So with the help of this one, if I run this command, we can see that this is basically supplier A, B, C. Okay, this is the quality rating of supplier A, B, C. So as we can see that the supplier quality rating is quite different from supplier A and supplier B. So again, this is a descriptive result. Okay, so now we have to see what's the ANOVA result saying, that whether they are equal or not. So in order to apply the one-way ANOVA, so the command is AOV. Okay, then we have to apply the continuous variable, tilde sign, factor variable, and then I'm storing this result in a variable called model1. Okay, so if I run this command, now I want to see the result, so I have to apply a summary and then the name of the variable. So if I run this command, we can see the result of one-way ANOVA. So as you can see that this ANOVA results p-value is indicating 0.00198, and against we can see that the two steric sign. So that is indicating that the p-value is even less than 0.01. So we can say that reject H naught mean all the suppliers quality is not equal. So that means at least one of the suppliers quality is different from the others. So from the descriptive analysis, we can also say see that all the suppliers quality are not equal. So at least one supplier, which is supplier C, is quality rating is quite less compared to supplier A and B. But we can also test this thing as well, as we can check this one, which quality is different from the other. So for that, we can apply the Tukey test. Okay, so for that we can say that Tukey HSD, then the name of the variable in which we have applied store the results of the ANOVA against the confidence interval 95%. Against the confidence interval 95 means alpha is equal to 1. So if I run this command, so this is the results of Tukey test. Supplier B and supplier A's p-value is 0.50, which is greater than alpha value, which is 0.05. So this result is indicating that the supplier quality rating of supplier A and B are equal. Whereas C and A's p-value is less than 5%. So we can conclude that A and supplier A and supplier C's quality rating are not equal. Similarly, supplier C and supplier B's quality ratings are not equal. So from this, we can also say that with the help of the next plot, which is the Tukey's plot. Okay, so from this graph, we can also say that if this line is lying exactly, or you can say the crossing the value of or touching the value of 0, so then these two groups are equal, and those lines which are not crossing this particular line or the 0 line, so that means those two suppliers are not equal. Okay, so overall what we have concluded that all suppliers quality are not equal, and from the box plot we can easily say that supplier C's quality is very less compared to A and B, whereas on average supplier B and A's quality is significantly equal, right? So I hope you have clear about the testing of hypothesis, that is one sample t-test, pair t-test, two sample independent t-test, and one-way ANOVA. So now let me show you if you want to apply the non-parametric test. So right now in this lecture, I am not covering that one, but for the future, you can check that if the data do not follow the normal distribution. So against the one sample t-test, you can apply the sign test, or you can say Wilcoxon sign rank test. And then pair against the pair t-test, the non-parametric test is the same one. Usually we are applying in this particular case is Wilcoxon signed rank test. Against the two sample independent t-test, we can apply the Mann-Whitney test. Against the one-way NOVA, if the data do not follow the normal distribution, so we can either apply a Kruskal-Wallis test or Moore's median test. If your data do not have so much, you can say outliers, then you can apply the Kruskal-Wallis test. But if your data do have so many outliers, then in that particular case, you can apply the Moore's median test. Okay, so two-way NOVA I didn't cover, but against the two-way we have the Friedman test. Now I am moving towards the correlation analysis. So how you can perform the correlation analysis in R. So as you people know that, so the correlation is calculated against the two quantitative variable in order to check the strength between the two variables. So for that, I am using the data set, which is basically the salary data set against the year experience. So again, I am using the same command in order to read the data set and then storing that data set in the variable called salary. So if I run this command and then if I click over the salary data, okay, so now we have stored the data in a salary variable, and in order to find out the correlation, again, in order to check the data, so we can write on view salary, okay. And then if I run this command, so we can see the data set. So one variable is year experience, okay, the other variable is salary. So this is indicating both the variables are the quantitative variables. So we want to check the strength between these two variables, morely linear strength. So for that, we are applying the correlation. So the first variable is salary, the second variable is year of experience. So if I run this command, I'm getting the answer of 0.9782. So this is the correlation coefficient answer. So can anyone tell me what the meaning of this one is? How you can interpret 0.9782? Yes, can anyone tell me? Yes, sir.
Sir, I think that both of the variables are highly correlated.
Exactly. So both the variables are highly correlated. But how much correlation is there? So we can also conclude this one, that is 97% of the time approximately, when the year of experience is increased, salary is also increased. Okay. So this is the practical meaning of this 0.9738 is. Okay. So now if I want to test this one, whether this high correlation is significant or not, so for that we can apply the correlation test. So that is core.test, and then again both the variables. If I run this command, so we can see that the Pearson correlation coefficients result as well as the p-value. Okay, so the p-value is quite small, almost 0. So in this particular case, what's your h naught is? So your h naught would be technically written as h naught rho is equal to 0, and alternative is rho is not equal to 0. So rho means there is no correlation. Okay, so rho is equal to 0 means, so that means there is a correlation, because we have seen that the p-value is almost 0. So we can conclude that the p-value is less than alpha. So less than alpha means reject h0. So we are rejecting it. That means we are accepting h1, which means there is a correlation between the year of experience and the salary. Okay. And from the quantitative analysis, we have seen that 97% of the time when the year of experience increased, salary is also increased, right? Now, Let me apply the simple linear regression. So what's the difference between the correlation and the regression is, so correlation are applying the two independent variables, the relationship between the two independent variables, whereas in a regression, we are checking the relationship between the one independent, another is a dependent variable. Okay, so when we have one independent and one dependent variable, but both the variables are the quantitative variables or both the variables are the measurable form, then we can apply the simple linear regression. So how we can apply the simple linear regression using R? So that is basically LM is the linear model. That is a function to apply the linear regression. Then we have to write down the dependent variable, which is a salary, then tilde sign. Then we have to apply the independent variable, which is the year of experience. Again, I am storing the result of this function in a salary.lm. So this is the regression model is run. Now, in order to check the result of this linear regression, we have to run the command summary of this salary.lm. Okay, so if I run this command, so we are getting the result of simple linear regression. So this is the coefficient, which is, this is beta naught, this is beta 1. Okay, so that means 1 unit of experience when increases, the salary will increase 9,450 units. Okay, and this p-value is quite small. So that means we can say that this is a significant result. Okay, whereas the R square is 0.97, which is quite high. That means our model is quite good. Or we can say that the year of experience, 95% variation can explain in the salary. Okay, but the remaining approximately 5% of the variation, we don't know which variable can explain in the salary. But right now, 95% the variation in the salary, the year of experience variable can explain. Clear? Now, let me talk about the last one, which is a multiple linear regression. So for that, I'm again defining the variables first. Okay, so I am defining the variable year, and we know that how we can define the variable using the concatenate function, which is C, month. Another variable I am defining interest rate, unemployment rate, and stock index price. Okay, so once we have defined these variables, okay, so after running this command, now I am interested to know the relationship between stock index price, unemployment rate, and interest rate. Stock price index is the dependent variable, whereas the independent variables are the interest rate and unemployment rate. Because now we are talking about the two independent variables, that means we have to apply the multiple linear regression model. So how you can do that? Again, the same function LM, we have the dependent variable, tilde sign, first independent variable, plus sign, the second independent variable. So if I run this command, okay, and again with the help of summary, so we can see the results. Again, this is beta naught value, this is beta 1 value, this is beta 2 value. So right now, our interest rate is also significant. Okay, our unemployment rate is also significant. Okay, that means both the variables are significantly affecting the stock index price. But we can see that because the interest rate has the positive beta value, that means by increasing the 1 unit of the interest rate, our stock index price will be increased. But the unemployment rate has a negative effect on the stock index price. By increasing the 1 unit of unemployment rate, our stock index price will decrease to 50.1 unit. Okay, so this model is quite good with the help of R scale. So almost 90% variation in the stock index price can be explained with the help of interest rate and unemployment rate. Right? Now, let's say if I want to predict, Okay, that what would be if this is my regression equation, because my stock index price would be equal to 1798.4 plus 345.5 multiplied by the interest rate minus 250.1 multiplied by the unemployment rate. Now I want to predict if the unemployment rate is 1, interest rate is 1, so what would be the stock index price? So for that we have a command predict, and we have stored the results of the multiple linear regression in model, and then I'm getting the confidence interval value against every predicted value. So if I run this command, so we can see that against the unit 1, mean when the interest rate is 1, when the unemployment rate is 1, so our stock index price will be this one. If our unemployment rate is 1, interest rate is 1, our fitted value will be this one. Because this is the negative value, we can see that the stock price index will be start increasing if we go as this equation, because the unemployment rate is showing the negative effect. If we haven't controlled this effect, so that means our stock price will be start decreasing. Okay, so thank you so much. So if you have any questions, so you can ask. Once again, let me tell you, so you would be able to get this recording. So where you can get this recording, so I have a YouTube channel, so you can check this recording over there. So if you are interested in even non-parametric testing, so those recordings are also available over here in probability and statistics data analysis. So this is the entire recording regarding the descriptive analysis, regarding the testing of hypothesis, parametric, non-parametric. So all the analysis are over here. So if you are interested, so you can check that one. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, so you are most welcome. Yes.
Gee, students, do you have any question?
Yes, Hamza.
Thank you, sir, for the informative lecture. Sir, you've mostly explained everything on the normal distribution.
Yes.
Can you explain some techniques using form distribution or other uniform distributions? Just some techniques.
Yeah. As I already told you that if the data do not follow the normal distribution, if the data follow any other particular distribution, whether it's a uniform, exponential, or gamma distribution, so in that particular case, you have to apply the non-parametric test. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Gee, any other question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
You have, yes, sir. You have mentioned about the graphical representation of the data for normal distribution to know whether it is normal or not, and then we tested that the data is normal or not. So I want to know what is the significance of graphically knowing about the normal distribution of the data. Why we need testing?
So remember that usually whenever we are reporting the results and when we are performing the analysis, always the descriptive analysis are the first, then the inferential analysis. So all the graphical analysis is the descriptive analysis in order to get the idea. Okay, so remember that this idea is very important, especially when you are dealing in the real world data. Okay, so you cannot straightforwardly apply the inferential analysis, because the descriptive analysis first of all help you when you are dealing the real world problem in order to develop the hypothesis. Okay, because let's say if I am working in a Moblink and Moblink company saying me that we are getting so much complaint against the waiting time from our call center. Okay, so they will not give you the hypothesis testing. So they will just give you the data set. So now you have to apply the descriptive analysis first. That's what's the average waiting time normally the customer has to wait. Okay, and what's the variation in the data. So once you have calculated the mean, standard deviation, and the median, as well as you draw the histogram, you would be able to see the variation in the data. You would be able to see the average in the data. And then that descriptive analysis help you out. So what would be your hypothesis? That you can also say your top management that our data from the historical saying that on average our customer has to wait 10 minutes on a call. So that means we can run a market campaign that usually our customer would not be wait more than 15 minutes on a phone call or more than 12 minutes on a phone call. Okay, so basically descriptive analysis help you out to develop the hypothesis testing. Okay, or you can say provide you the basis for the inferential analysis. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. The example you gave is very helpful to understand this. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
And I also want to thank you for this informative lecture you have given.
Most welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ji Hamza, do you have any question?
Yes, sir. Sir, when we started off the lecture, you showed some visuals to and asked us if it was normally distributed or not. Like, we haven't set any parameters like alpha values or any other. Then later on, when we complete the test, we used some alpha values to see if it was normally distributed and not or not.
Okay.
And then contrast between visuals and then the test we performed. Now, the tests were performed under parameters, while the visuals we had not set any parameters. So would it, if we judge on visuals, then the parametric tests?
So that's the main difference between the descriptive analysis and the inferential analysis. When we are performing the descriptive analysis, whether we are with the help of graphical analysis, whether with the help of simple descriptives such as mean, median, standard deviation, so we are performing on our actual data set, right? So based on that particular data set, we are just finding that whether that data set is indicating the data follow a normal distribution. So I didn't talk about regarding even with the help of the quantitative values, you can find out whether the data follow the normal distribution or not. How you can do that? If your descriptive analysis is saying that your mean, median, mode are equal, then you can descriptively conclude that the data follow the normal distribution. But if the mean, median, mode are not equal, then descriptively you will say the data do not follow the normal distribution. Once again, let me tell you, never conclude the results based on the descriptive analysis. But the descriptive analysis is very powerful, very important, because it is providing the basis for the inferential analysis. So right now in my lecture, I have given you the problem and then I perform the analysis. But when you are going in the real world, so people will not tell you the hypothesis testing. People will give you the data and then you will be able to perform the testing of hypothesis. You have to generate the hypothesis. Okay, like let me give you the example. For example, if you are visiting a production floor of a textile company and the production manager saying that on average our defect rate is 50 units per 1000 unit. Okay, now you want to test his claim. So how you will test his claim? So first of all, you will collect the data of their defective units. Okay, and then you first perform the descriptive analysis. You will calculate the mean, you will calculate the standard deviation. You may be able to perform some graphical analysis such as histogram, such as box plot in order to check the variations or the average value in the data. And then you would be able to generate some hypothesis. Let's say his claim was 50 defects per 1000 units. Okay, but your descriptive analysis saying that on average his defects are 53 units. So will you able to accept his claim or not? Based on the descriptive, you cannot say anything unless you would have to perform the inferential analysis. So in this particular case, you can apply the one sample t-test because you want to compare the target value, which is a 50 defects per 1,000 to the data you have collected. Okay, so one sample you are comparing against a group. So remember that the descriptive analysis is very important because it is providing the basis for the inferential analysis. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thanks once again.
Most welcome.
Okay, so I think we are running out of the time. So yes, I was already thinking to request Dr. Hakimur Rahman actually to share the link of his channel on YouTube. So please share in the chat box, and at least students will see. And thank you so much for being with us. And it was a wonderful, informative lectures, and we learned a lot. And it will be really great pleasure to see you again sometime.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Okay. So now I think it's time for Jummah prayer. So thank you so much. And thank you for all the students. You may leave now, and we can see each other after the class, after the Jummah prayer actually. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, Allah Hafiz.